Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OMnipoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon, and today we're going to be doing a second Primal Kyogre list. My first one, I will be honest, I'm not all that impressed with it. It was kind of slow, because using Kyogre just to manually attach each turn, it takes too long, and you'll just lose games by doing that. Also, I found the Garbodor a bit slow as well. Just kind of a too clunky deck, just trying to do too much with not enough support Pokemon. So we've completely scrapped that deck pretty much, and this is the one I'm going off now. This one is much faster, and it has better type coverage as well, better than that Charizard. That was kind of not the best idea. But we're using a different counter, and he's also our energy accelerator. So we're maxing out Victini, we're playing 4 of it. Turbo Energize, absolutely fantastic. It's a godsend for Kyogre. It means that we can, turn 1, we can either Professor Letter or use like a Skylar to get Victory Piece. So turn 1 we can get 2 energies onto a Kyogre with Turbo Energize. Absolutely fantastic. And of course we are a fire type, so against Virizion Genesect we can get Donks often, and if not the Donk, we'll just get 2 prizes early on a Virizion and really force them into a horrible situation, force them to have megaphones and stuff like that to actually just deal with the onslaught of pressure that this guy can come up with. So Turbo Energize, fantastic for setting up Kyogres against every matchup, but then against Metal decks and Virizion Genesect, this guy becomes a real threat. Even when the Victory Piece is gone, because Kyogre moves energy from itself, we can set up Intensifying Burn when this guy's on the bench. The fact that it's only 110 HP is kind of annoying, but I feel like the Primal itself is so strong with 240 HP. Once we get them set up, losing the 2 prizes early isn't too detrimental to us. So following on from that, I actually have the cards now. I went out and bought them. So we have 4 Kyogres. Its attacks are actually decent. I think I undersold this card in my first Kyogre build. Water Pulse can be pretty useful against stuff like Seismitoad if you can force them into sleep. Buying you Return of Trainers, that's pretty useful. And Giant Whirlpool, you do have to use it sometimes if you're not able to get 2 Primals going. And the number 140 is actually fine for hitting 170 EX Pokemon, because we are normally going to be doing a Tidal Storm before that, if ever we are using this guy. So his attacks are actually okay. Retrieving the energy to the hand as well isn't too bad, because we can just Primal and then reattach too. So Kyogre itself is not too terrible, but of course it's still all about the Primal evolution, which we are playing 4 of. This is an absolutely gorgeous card. If any of you guys have any, you'll know what I'm talking about. This card is so just amazing to look at. Whenever it's in my hand, I just have to look at it. Basically, I still think this is a very, very strong card. Growth is just an amazing alpha trait, and Tidal Storm's numbers are fantastic. If you've not played this deck too much, you won't really know the combos, but Tidal Storm just is so easy to combo off with to get 3 or 4 prizes turn after turn. So, or not turn after turn, but over the combination of a couple of turns, you just keep rolling on the prizes. It's incredible. And 150 is good numbers, 30 to everything is really good. Moving the energy to the bench is fantastic, so even if they are able to kill us, we'll have another Pokemon to respond next turn. So Primal Kyogre, just a very, very strong card. And basically that's all we're playing for Pokemon. We're playing just one other tech, and this is Emolga. And the reason why I play this is because it's a free retreater. That is literally the only reason why I play this card. There's like no free retreaters in the format. I realised this. There's this, Hawlucha, and Zubat through an ability. Obviously Emolga has higher HP than the Zubat, so that's preferable. Also, I'm using Silent Lab in here, so Zubat wouldn't have free retreat. So basically we're using Emolga simply for free retreat. I play this over the Hawlucha because if ever we need to call for family, we can do that. But the reason why I have a free retreater in here is because we're using escape ropes, and if we have a free retreater, it means we can just go into the Emolga and free retreat into whatever we want, so the escape rope doesn't harm us ever. It can always be used aggressively. Also, it's the only non-EX in the deck, so if we need to buy ourselves a turn and force them to have a Lysander, you can just throw up a Emolga. So that's why I play that. It's yeah, like I said, just there for the free retreat really. On to trainers, we're playing 1 Victory Piece so that Victini can do all of its attacks for free. 1 Tool Retriever, this is to get rid of Flare Tools because they're really annoying. Especially on Kyogre, we don't like having to force wasted turn to evolve, and we don't want to have an extra energy cost on our attacks. That's annoying as well. So pick those up and stop that from harming us. Also, just even if they're not playing Flare Tools, we can pick up Spirit Links and move them onto something else so that we can try and evolve another one. Then we're playing 2 VS Seeker, recovering our supporters. 2 Bicycle, getting us through the deck a bit quicker. We can drop our hand fairly low in this deck. Once we Primal Evolve, we can get rid of energy from the hand and all that stuff. We're playing 2 Professor's Letter to find our energies for our attachments. Pretty important. I like having 2 as well. It helps out in the early game, finding a fire energy if we're not able to find the victory piece. Also, of course, 2 is the right number for alpha growth, so that's perfect. Same reason why we're playing 2 Energy Retrieval, so that we can recover energy in the late game once 1 or 2 cards have hit the graveyard. Next up, we're playing a combination of balls here. We're playing 2 Dive and 2 Ultra Ball. I like having this split this way. Obviously, if we're Skylaring, we can get the Dive Ball if we're getting the Kyogre line, but of course, Victini is an important component of this deck now, as is the Emolga, so having 2 Ultra Ball is useful there as well. Whoops, just dropped a card. We're playing 3 Escape Ropes. My OCD is so frustrated by this. I only have 2 copies of each Escape Rope, so there's always going to be an odd one out, which is really annoying. But yeah, we're playing 3 of this card. It's just fantastic. It makes the Tidal Storm just so strong. You can force them into, you know, another EX and take 4 prizes on a Tidal Storm, thanks to sniping. Or we can take 3 prizes from a Tidal Storm and kill like one of their bench techs. It's just so strong. Yeah, Escape Rope's fantastic. And like I say, with Emolga, we can go back into the one that we had previously active, or whatever we want to, really. It's often used aggressively, the Escape Rope, but sometimes if we're starting with Kyogre and we need to get into Victini, we can do that as well. So next up, 3 Spirit Links to get into our Kyogre. Only play 3. Like I say, Tool Retriever can give us an extra one technically, if ever we need it. But even if we don't use Tool Retriever, we don't need more than 3 Kyogres in a whole game. So normally 2 does the job, so I feel comfortable with having 3 Spirit Links. Onto supporters, 1 Lysander. Because we're using 3 Escape Ropes, I feel like it's not really necessary to have more than 1 Lysander in here, especially with 2 VS Seekers if we actually really need to recover it. And then we're going for a super simple, super consistent 4 Skylar, 4 N, and 4 Professor Juniper. Like I mentioned in the previous video, I like running Skylar. It really helps us find the combo pieces for getting the Spirit Links or getting the Ultra Balls. Also, it does pretty much work as a Lysander now, because we can get the Escape Rope when we need to. So I really love having Skylar in here. Also, it gets our energy out, which is important. So Skylar pretty much grabs everything. I'd be happy to have Skylar almost every turn, pretty much. N, fantastic card, especially when we're using Victini. We're often going to be the one that blinks first and loses a couple of prizes, so N becomes really strong for us, disrupts our opponent, and when we're hitting for that much damage in the following turns, then with a sticky hand after being End can be really good for us. And of course Juniper just for the strong draw that we need when we do. So that's pretty important. I really like having this line. I don't see the point of having Colress or anything like that. We don't bench too much in this deck, so yeah, not real. We don't get much out of that compared to other decks. The final thing we're playing is 2 Silent Lab. I mentioned it a little bit earlier, but this is in it for a number of reasons. I really love Silent Lab in here. It means that our Tidal Storm is not blocked by Mr. Mime, which is absolutely fantastic. It means that we can hit through Safeguarders, so they're no longer an issue. It means that Genesect can't red signal us from the bench and kill our primals while we're setting them up, which is really good. It stops stuff like rushing in and retreating. That can be annoying for me. I've actually seen that be quite annoying, especially if we're using... I found it important when we're up against Seismitoad, and if they're using Keldeo, after we've sent them to sleep, they can sort of bail themselves out. But if we use Silent Lab, they don't have that option. So there's probably plenty more options where Silent Lab's pretty useful. But Mr. Mime is the main thing, and Safeguarders as well. Those are the 2 main things why we have Silent Lab in here. I'm happy with just having 2, because really we only need like 1 or 2 turns of Mr. Mime not working. So if we can Skylar for the Silent Lab, or if we have it at the right time, it's just so good. We stop that bench barrier, and we get the perfect numbers for Tidal Storm to do those double KOs, and it's just really, really useful. That's also why we don't play our own Keldeo or anything like that, because obviously we're trying to shut down abilities when we can do. So finally, onto energy. We're playing 2 fires. I feel like 2 is the right number when we're using Victini to turbo energize as often as we can. Also, it's not too many, so that Kyogre's never going to be able to attack. It does have a single colourless cost, so it's not too detrimental having these 2 fires in here. And finally, we're playing 10 water energies. I feel like 10 plus the 2 letters plus the energy retrievers is plenty for getting Kyogre's going the whole game. Even if we're moving them all over the board, we're always going to have enough. So this is a much, much better deck, definitely than the last Kyogre that I showed. It's just much more fast, and it has a definitely better game against Virgin. Definitely has a better matchup against Metal decks as well. And I feel like Kyogre's been underestimated a little bit by some people, and in the way I've built it, it's been stealing wins against all of these other mega decks and, you know, Virgin and stuff as well, because of this Victini line, and I really, really like it. Also, Silent Lab is a huge threat. It just stops Mr. Mime from blocking our tactic, and that's pretty much the only thing that can stop Kyogre's strategy from being pulled off. So it's just really, really strong. And yeah, that's the updated Kyogre list. I really like this, and there's going to be a cities, it might be regionals actually, but either way I think it's in a week or two's time, and I'm probably going to bring this list and see how I do with it. Hopefully it'll be a good bit of fun. It's the first tournament that Primal Clash is going to be legal for, so hopefully we're going to see some interesting decks and shed some light on the future of the format. So like I say, this deck I'm much happier with than the last Primal Kyogre list that I put on the channel. This one is much better to go by, and I would definitely start testing this. It's just really, really quick and strong, and getting a turn 2 Primal Tidal Storm is just so difficult to deal with for a whole bunch of decks. And if they can't hit 240 the following turn, we're going to get another one off and probably 3 or 4 prizes. So it's just very difficult to deal with. I really like Primal Kyogre, like I say, my favourite to come out of this set, Pokemon wise, and he's just not disappointing so far in this new list. So I've been rambling on, but that is the deck, guys. I've been Joe from OMnipoke, and I will see you guys next time.